come back with me.
Where?
Back to the future.
Welcome to level 27 of the Bonus Level Podcast. I'm Jack, and I'm joined, of course, with me, as usual, Josh and Luch.
Hello.
And we're going on a journey this evening. We're going
Or are we?
back to the future. Psych, we ain't going nowhere because that ain't happening. It ain't real. It's not. We're not able to do it. You can't go back to the future. You can't time travel, but we're going to discuss it anyway. Right? That's what we're going to do.
We're going to prove Jack wrong.
Today might be the first episode where I am severely outnumbered. No, I'm just kidding. That's every episode. So this week, for level 27, we're going to be talking about time travel, the different ways that it's portrayed in movies and fiction, and also more logically, if it were to be possible now, what would the ramifications of time travel be? What would happen if somebody could do it? Mm-hmm. And then I will also take all of those things, put them in a blender, and tell you why it would never happen and could never be possible. So now that I've spoiled my opinion on it, Luch, why don't you? So when you think of whenever you think of time travel, right? So when you think of the concept, what's the first thing that comes to mind?
When I think of time travel, I think a lot of like twisted plot lines, kind of. I don't know, like the plot lines of life.
Elaborate.
So for instance, like, you know, you travel back in time to save your grandfather from dying, but he was killed before he could have a child with your grandma. But then your grandma, realizing that she needed love in the world, goes to you, and then you're actually your grandfather.
You're your own grandfather. So you sound like the episode of Futurama where
that's
Fry
exactly what I was thinking of.
Okay, all right. So that's what you think of, just different plot lines of life.
Yeah, well, so like time travel itself, yeah, but I think time travel as like, you know, there's a bunch of parallel like universes that branch off whenever we make a decision. And while I feel going back in time per se definitely sounds impossible, I think maybe hopping to those different dimensions is something that is plausible.
Okay. So instead of actually like so you're saying that if it was possible to go back in time, you wouldn't go back in time of the current timeline that you left from.
Yeah, and technically time travel is definitely possible. The only thing I could say that going back in time I don't think is possible. And if there is, there's going to be some huge organization like in the Umbrella Academy that keeps track of time to make sure nobody
right.
Messes it up. Right.
Okay. We're going to circle back around to you just saying, oh no, I'm just letting you know, I'm putting a pin. I'm mentally notating the fact that you just said technically time travel is possible. So we're going to come back to that, but keep going.
All right. But what I'm saying though is time travel doesn't mean it has to involve, you know, super sciencey scientific machines that will, you know, do a warp hole that brings you into a, you know, back 30 years. But like, you know, when, you know, cryogenics becomes popular, you know, you can go forward in time by freezing yourself and then popping out. That's a form of time travel.
No, that's not time travel.
Mm-hmm.
No, that's not time travel. You know why it's not? You know why it's not time travel? Because time is staying. So all you're doing is you're suspending. So you're suspending time and your own reality for yourself. You're not travel. I mean, technically, your conscious state would be skipping forward, but I mean, time travel in that sense isn't. You know, I mean, that would be like if I could say, oh, well, I figured out a way to raise people from the dead, so I'm going to kill you, and then I'm going to raise you from the dead in 20 years, and, you know, you'll technically have traveled into the future 20 years.
Technically,
it's one-way time travel and only able to go into the future.
Yeah, but you're still traveling through time.
Okay.
Your body stasis.
Wait. Time out. Ready? Wait, everybody quiet. I just traveled into the future.
You did? Good job, man.
Yeah, so technically time travel is possible.
The same speed as everybody else.
I do believe with like, you know, like physics and everything like that. And if it is possible to bring warp engines and be able to pull the universe together type of thing. If that ever does happen, that would be the only way plausible.
You're still stuck on the Futurama thing.
No, what are you
because the
talking
planet
about?
because the Planet Express ship. That's how Professor Farnsworth explained the graviton engines. Or now I think I just insulted
No.
Futurama fans because he said that it didn't propel the ship forward; it pulled the universe past.
No,
it.
not like that. So a warp engine, what it does, it takes 2 points in the universe, and then instead of you fast traveling to it, it brings the points closer together.
Yeah.
That's what warp travel is. That's when you see the diagram at that's what it looks like. And I'm like, that's the only way I could ever see it being a thing.
Okay. Josh, what about you? What do you see whenever you think of it? What's the first thing that comes to mind?
The first thing that pops into my mind is the scene in Bill and Ted's where they're going bowling with Napoleon Dynamite or Napoleon Bonaparte, not Dynamite. And that was, I think, one of the first introductions to time travel for me. I can't remember if I saw that one or Back to the Future first.
Okay.
But yeah, I think that was the first one to me, hopping back, grabbing somebody, bringing them back here, having a little lesson, learning some things, taking them back, and continuing on.
Gotcha. Okay. So that's the first thing, that's the first thing that you can latch onto as far as when you think of it. Do you guys want to know what mine is?
Yes, please.
Yeah, tell us why you believe time travel exists.
So the first thing that I think of when I think of time travel now is, because I used to, when I was little, I used to think it was super cool. Let's go back into the past, and we're going to change the Terminator series. Amazing. I thought it was incredible. But then I my brain matured, and then I was just like, wait a minute, that doesn't make sense. That's not possible. So now every time I think about it, the more and more that I think about it, and the more and more movies and TV shows and fiction that I see it put in all the different ways, the angrier I get, because it's passed off as this fictional plot device that is used to change things. For instance, in 7 days now, I think 7 days, it's Thursday, so next Thursday night we have Avengers Endgame.
Yes,
that comes out, and it's a culmination of 10 years of Marvel movies, and all of my favorite comic book characters come to life in the big screen, and we've all watched this this story unfold, and it's about to come to its dramatic conclusion, and everybody's so excited, including me. I'm so excited. But they are going to use the quantum realm as a big plot device to undo / revert what's been done. And it is it's like a time travel, like a loop, right?
Yeah.
Like a loophole. And they're going to use that, and it's bullshit. I mean, at the end of the day, all it is they're like, oh, we're going to have all this really bad stuff happen. And then through some clever wording and convenience, we're going to be able to go back in time and revert what actually happened and bring everybody that was dead back to life. Woohoo! And it's like, okay. Ooh. So yeah, and I obviously I'm going to get to the point where I'm going to be going full on rant mode about why I can't it's just why it doesn't work. But so I'm going to stick to topic. So now whenever I think of time travel, it annoys me because it's become a very it's almost like a cop out, right? So in a lot of movies that are based around it or that use it as we can go back in time and fix this. We can go, we can go before this actually happened and change the outcome. They use it as as an easy way to continue the story arc, I guess, or get to the end and finish the plot. And I don't like that. And that's what I think of.
To me, well, I don't know. There's so many different paths to go down as far as this conversation goes. But I don't know. I would like to hear. I guess, what is it about, other than like movies using it as a cop out for things, what
Mhm.
is it that makes it seem like it's such an unrealistic thing? Because I mean, when we look at how far things have progressed techno- technologically and so on, like, unless we get, blown up by an asteroid in the next, couple thousand years or something, we're going to progress to a pretty high tech civilization, you know, um, where things are so much more. I mean, like if you tried to explain just the technology that we have now to someone 100, 200 years, to your granddad, go explain what a freaking iPad does to your granddad, and they're like, I don't understand this stuff. So it's like,
And that's also a cop out. I don't like change.
well, so I mean,
Okay.
just imagine what it's going to be like a little bit more in the future.
Yeah.
I mean, none of us have physics degrees, so trying to
No.
even understand like how it would work. I mean, we can kind of, from movies, they'll explain things. We go, oh, that makes sense. But then if you really dig into it, you're like, no, that's your hole in the thing. It's like, yeah, well, that was because we had a movie director that was trying to explain
Yeah.
time travel instead of like full on physicists. And I mean, any
No, for sure.
physicists now will tell you that like, no, it can't be done. They're like, we all have theories of how it could be done, but so far like we're not even close to it. But
Right.
I mean, given 1,000 years, 2,000, 5,000, 10,000 years, like why do you think that it's never something that's going to be happening?
Okay. Well, first, before we can even get to that question, the we have to set up some understanding ground rules, right? We have to come to a common understanding or common ground on um, the reality that we live in, and also what the consequences would be of time travel before we can even I can actually explain why
Mhm.
it is not possible. You both have to kind of get like, so right now, right? So we are alive, we're on the earth. Whether or not we want to go back to like level 7 or 6 whenever we did the simulation
Yeah.
episode, whether or not you think this is real or not, that doesn't matter. But we're here on this plane, in this existence, in this, as Luch has said earlier, in this timeline, right? So, like,
Mhm.
this timeline exists. Do you think that there are alternate universes in which we are living, we are alive, doing the other things based on our different actions?
Yes.
Luch says yes.
I mean,
It's
I said that earlier, but
it
I
hurts
know,
my head
right?
so much trying to even comprehend this stuff, because
Well,
when you try, like, when you watch that video, the little dot of where you are as a person and getting it zoomed out to Earth and zoomed out to the Milky Way and zoomed out even farther and farther and farther, and them talking about like everything is so endless that the probability of there being
but we're
an
not
exact
talking about
copy of
that
this.
though. We're talking about an alternate plane where you yourself exist in another reality, maybe based on different choices that you made or different outcomes based on those choices. So an infinite number of realities, kind of, again, to reference Avengers, where Doctor Strange looks into the future and
Yeah.
he sees 14 million different outcomes of all of their actions. And those are all separate timelines of what could happen based on the next sequence of events. Right.
Mhm.
So, and why I'm asking you that is because if you believe in alternate timelines, then time traveling also, like, do you remember the one with Jet Li
Yes, where he
where
traveled
he
to the
like
other
had to
one
go?
and killed his other
Yeah,
version, and he
yeah.
was
So, but that wasn't like time travel. That was like he was skipping in and out of
yeah.
the realities to kill all the
What they
other
say there were
versions
like
of
another
himself.
32 dimensions, and he had to like kill all of them, and then their power level was split up between the remaining survivors.
Yeah,
Dude, that movie
right.
was
Every
so
time.
freaking badass with him and
Oh yeah,
Jason
where he like
Statham.
he picks up the motorcycles and smashes the
Yes.
anyways.
Oh, it's so
Anyways,
good.
the point of that is that if you believe that that's a possibility, then you can believe, I guess, in the idea of new ones being created, right? So like new realities forming based on these, the possibilities. The problem is that number is astronomically infinite,
Oh, yeah.
because you have the 6 billion people on the planet, right? Or whatever, however the number is now. And every single one of those splitting off into these new realities based on their actions, right? So the number of realities where you exist is infinite.
Yes.
Okay. And first of all, that's just not realistic. Like, I'm sorry, that's just not realistic. That's not a thing. It's not realistic.
I
to have
understand
6
that
billion.
it's so insane that it's hard for your mind to comprehend, but I don't think that you could just go, no, not really, because it hurts.
But I think you have. No.
You
It's
need that,
not.
Jack.
But it's not
hard
about.
for your mind to comprehend.
No, it's not about it. It's not about it. I think you have to. I think you have to make a stand and say, no, that's not real. Otherwise, none of, again, we go back to the whole thing of none of it matters. Because if I'm alive in another universe, who gives a shit what I do here with this one? Because, if I die here, I'm alive in a million other ones, a billion other ones. You know what I mean? Like, so it doesn't matter. So I think you have to take a stand and say, okay, no, this is the reality. This is the life that we're given. This is the one that we live. And then therefore you can base your other opinions and logically work things out from there. So, and I'll tell you now, so like moving into time travel, right? So you might have to follow along with me. So I'm actually going to write this. I'm going to like draw it as me. So you have me living right now, right? So I'm alive in 2019. Here I am. I find out that, tomorrow, right? So it turns from today to tomorrow, but I find out that today on April 18th, 2019, you got hit by a car. So that's you, right? You got hit by a car and you're dead. Tomorrow, I find this out. So I'm like, shit, I need to go back. Okay. So tomorrow me, okay, goes back to today, right?
Yep.
To save you from being hit by a car. Okay. When I go, the moment that I time travel back, even if it's just for a day, right? I have now created a second version of myself because when I get back to today, the 18th, I will exist already in this reality.
Yes, there'll be
Jack. There will be me here.
Jack.
Correct. So you have Florida Jack, right?
Yeah.
Living here, and then future Jack of tomorrow comes back to today to Atlanta. So you have two of me in this plane, right?
Yep.
I save you from being hit by a car, right? The next day, you're still alive, okay? Today Jack is now tomorrow Jack, but also tomorrow Jack is now tomorrow Jack again. So now I have two of me in tomorrow.
Yes.
Right? But, however, neither of us need to now go back in time because I changed the fact that you are not dead, right?
Yes.
So what happens to me? To Tomorrow Jack, who's now living with second version of Tomorrow Jack.
Yes. So
do I follow the fictional version of that reality doesn't exist anymore, so he disappears. Right? So Tomorrow Jack saved the day, right? You're no longer dead. Today Jack no longer needs to go back to the future tomorrow, right? Or back to the past. I'm confusing myself. He no longer needs to go back to the day before, okay? Which creates a conundrum. So like there's two of us, so that the second guy either disappears or get this is where it actually gets funky. Because I saved you and I no longer have to go back to the day before, that next guy that is still alive never went back that day in the first place. Or do you disappear now? Because now I'm literally creating this wormhole of these possibilities of, well, I went to the back, I saved you, you're alive, but now I don't need to go to the past because you're alive. So the guy that actually went to the past is now in the future. So what does he do? Does he disappear? Does he explode? Do you explode because you're not actually supposed to be alive? That wasn't the real reality? Or is it like Luch, and now we created three separate realities?
So my favorite way to think about it is with the and if I'm making any movie references in this, sorry, I'm going to go ahead and say spoiler alert with things. But my favorite type of movies are when someone goes back in time to fix something, but you find out that them going back in time and the stuff that they put in motion actually is what causes the event in the first place.
Okay.
I think that there's no way the events are going to happen one way or another. And you going back and you're like, oh crap, I got to go back in time because Josh got hit by a car. And then it turns out that you go back in time, you're here in Atlanta, I'm crossing a street and I look at him and I'm like, Jack, what the hell are you doing in Atlanta? Boom, I get hit by a car. And it's like,
but then that would go to the next day, and I would know that happened. So then I would go back again, and I would go back a little further so that I could get to that street corner before.
And then I go, wait, why is Jack tackling a copy of himself? And boom, I get hit by another car. And it's like, that kind of.
But see, that's exactly my point. So you're using the opposite effect. So the first scenario I presented is one where I change the future,
yes.
right? And therefore create a conundrum where I change the future. I have two copies of myself in the same reality, and then one either has to disappear, or now I have two versions of myself living there. But then does he actually have to go back anyway because he was saved, and then maybe that actually reverses it because he doesn't go back anyway. Mm-hmm. But in this situation, nothing has changed, right? So nothing changes.
Yeah.
All right. So what you're saying is tomorrow Jack realizes you get hit by a car. He goes back, realizes that it is you that actually that it's his fault that you actually get hit by the car, mm-hmm. or it's his own fault. So then nothing changes. You're still dead. And then I never live a day past that next day because my current self will continue to go back in time, creating multiple copies of me, trying to save you, not realizing until I get there that it's actually my fault. And I will literally never age past that day.
Okay, hold on. The aging past that day thing is everything else made sense of you like keep going back in time and stuff like that.
Right. So me today, Jack, right, goes to tomorrow, finds out you're dead, goes back in time.
Mm-hmm.
I now have two of me. The next day, today Jack is now tomorrow Jack. He realizes you're dead. He goes back in time. Now there's three of me in today.
Yeah.
That today Jack goes to tomorrow, realizes you're dead, goes back in time.
Hold on, Jack. So are you trying to say that all of the multiple dimensional yous are going back to the same point in time?
Yes, it's all one timeline.
But that doesn't. So if it's multi-dimensional and then goes back to that one.
No. I'm not saying it's multi-dimensional. My entire argument is based on we have one linear timeline.
Mm-hmm.
Not multiple.
You're talking about like at that point where the parallel universes branch off. You're talking about all those multitude of you being able to go back in time to that single point.
Yeah, I'm doing is which is the entire. That is my entire argument. It's not possible. It can't happen. Why? There is no evidence or no feasible conclusion that you can tell me that we live in a one reality of a billion. And if we did live in one out of a billion, we could then.
I still think we live in one reality of a billion, but I don't think we can travel back in time.
Okay.
Well, you're saying that you don't think that we can. Are you saying that we will never be able to get to that point, Luch?
To travel backwards in time?
Yes.
Again, like if it ever did happen, I still don't think it would happen. There has to be something governing the laws of it.
It's not about it's something government. It's not even about something government. We're not living in a giant SSD where you can just rewind time to the fact of like, oh, everything is happening. It's like a record, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you play it forward, it plays. If you play it backwards, it plays. You can't just like rewind it and then let it play again. Rewind it and let it play again.
So you think that the only way so you think that time can be reversed?
No, time is linear. Time is moving forward. This entire podcast we started it 25 minutes ago. We've gone forward in time 24 minutes by living our life. Time is linear in one direction. It can't go both ways, right? Like you can't go back and then go forward and then go forward and then go back. Like it doesn't work that way. It's constantly moving forward at this pace that it's set. There is no shifting that speed or reverting it. And like You ever seen the movie Stephen King's I think it's the Tommyknockers?
Yeah.
I think.
I don't think so.
You know where like the things are eating time and space.
Oh yeah. I know.
Scared the
Think of
mess
it. Think
out
of it
me.
like that. Think of it like that without the stupid scary part because
Yeah.
it doesn't make no sense. As time moves forward, everything in the past is gone. You have the memories of it. You have recorded. We have photos. Blah 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 blah. But there is no pause button, rewind button, and then play button back, so we can just like reset. That's not how it works. And while I can just say that and believe that, we're literally talking about scenarios that if you were to go back in time, it literally creates an impossibility. Like I do you understand what I was saying about I won't age past the day that I go back in time or no?
No, because I think that like even let's say that I hopped in a time machine and I go back to like the Wild Wild West. If I stayed in that time period, I'm going to get older. Or let's say that
You will, no, you will. You will get older. Like say that was possible.
Yeah.
You would age back whenever you were, right? But current me,
excuse me,
right? So like I'm using this very small time frame to keep it into perspective. Today me would never age past tomorrow.
Well, he would eventually get into a time machine and jump back to what you're doing.
Oh, so now we're going back to the future?
God damn it.
I mean, kind of. That would kind of make sense.
My point is that so you have to decide over. Okay, if I go back into the past to a timeline where more than one of me exists, what happens to what happens to the copies of me? Do I just keep piling up? Because once I do that one time and I go back, there's going to be another version of that day's me that's going to go back to the past the following day.
Yes.
And if he doesn't do that, then none of the previous copies would exist.
Correct.
Because he wouldn't. Right. So all I'm doing is stacking up copies of myself that are going to age past the next day, right? So, but I'm literally creating like the current version of me will never get older than, right now at 4/18/2019 at 9:57 p.m. Boom, I go back in time. I never will get past this moment. Me, currently.
I don't know. I kind of feel like, when you play that game, Slither.io or whatever it is, where you have imagine
I remember that game.
Each little, part of your body being a different you, that they're all following this path. It's like I said, if you think of things more along the lines of things are going to happen whether or not, you had interfered or like you try to interfere, it doesn't change things. So like, even if you wanted to try saving me, I'm still going to die. So you're, person, today Jack on that timeline is every time going to go into the portal to go save me until he realizes that that's not going to work anymore. And then he either continues to live on from that day or he jumps back to where he should be in that current timeline. And
right, but the problem is that the problem is as soon as you do that though, so I go back, right? Mm-hmm. Me goes to tomorrow, then he's like, oh, I have to go back. Goes back, even if it's the very first one, and the first one realizes, shoot, me coming back is what got him killed, right? Mm-hmm. So then I have to live my life from that moment on, right?
Yeah.
But my current self that's living in that same day that you died is going to hear the news and go back again.
Yes.
Creating another version of me that then realizes, oh, shoot, it was my fault, and then has to live on from that day. But all of these offshoots are now living in the same timeline, and all I'm doing is I'm reproducing. I'm cloning myself at that point every single day for eternity. Because every single one of those people are going to live on to the next day. And it's just basically resetting. What my point is that every time it happens, it's resetting time. So what happens, it does, everybody else is continuing to live and get older, right?
Yeah.
But for me, that day, I'm creating another version of me that's alive on that day. Another one that's alive on that day. It never stops.
I don't know. I feel
and then what happens? And then do I freeze time for everybody? Because like I'm going back and then resetting the entire timeline. So everybody is just waking up that day. You know what I mean? And all I'm doing is just adding a new version of me into it.
Well, that's
Because
the thing. Like, I don't see how you're getting multiple versions of yourself. And maybe I would need to draw it out to really get a good understanding. Because, like I said, it would be kind of like the snake, where you have yourself would go through, and then your today's self would eventually follow on that path. But you're continuing on that at that point in history that, yes, there was a version of you that went back to that time. But I wouldn't say that there was multiple like today Jacks going through the portal at the exact same time. And there's also, I mean, if you look at some of that stuff when it comes to movies trying to explain anything like that, I think even in Back to the Future they talked about that he was not allowed to meet himself. I don't remember how the whole situation went, but he was just like imperative. Like, I mean, of course he told him like, don't, mess with your family or anything. And of course that was a very, very watered down scenario of what could happen of you bumping into a family member in the past. Cause we know that one little thing and you're causing a butterfly effect, and there could be a billion different things different. But like I think he even said like, if you were to meet yourself, that all of it would just come ripping apart because you have now broken some serious laws of physics, and it doesn't like that kind of thing. So I don't know. I mean, but
well, the thing with the multiple versions of myself, it comes down to the fact of like you have to decide if when I get to tomorrow and I decide to come back to today, right? I now have, you have to at least agree with me that there's two of me, right?
Yes, there will be one from the future. And you have today Jack and future Jack.
Right. And so then today Jack is here, living here in Clearwater. Then you have future Jack, right?
Yep.
Future Jack is in Atlanta. Okay. So there's one and then there's two. So then I go to Atlanta. Future Jack goes to Atlanta on the day of past Jack. Right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. That day turns into night, turns into the next day. Okay. So you can agree that there's still two of me in this timeline.
Correct.
Okay. So now that is tomorrow Jack, which is what was current. He goes back into the past the day before. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
He goes to Atlanta. Now he went back on the same time that the previous future Jack did, right? The day before.
Correct.
So does two people show up or just one in Atlanta?
I would think just one.
So what happened to the future Jack that lived to the next day? Where's he?
So future Jack that lived to the next day, he's one day ahead. So you're still
he's one day ahead of the two that are living in the past. But he also
yeah, because it's basically like I said, think of it like a snake. You have a tail. He's moving forward, and they're following him. It's eventually
But every time you do that, you're adding one more to the end of the tail, right? Because you just said that there's now two Jacks in the past day, one in the future day. Right. So then that day passes into day 2 for those two. And for the first one into day 3, he goes back, adds another one. And there's two living in day 1. This hurts my head
too much. I'm not smart enough.
Do you understand what I'm saying though? Because like
I kind of do, but I also feel like we're allowing understanding it.
If we're allowing the first person that goes back to the future to advance one day, and you're saying it's like the snake and everyone after that is just following. So first day he goes back, there's two of you, right?
Yeah.
It advances to the next day. One goes back to the past. One moves forward a day. There's now two in the past day, one in the next day. Same thing happens the very next day. There's still two. Okay, so let's look at it like this is a Saturday, Sunday, Monday, right?
Uh-huh.
Today. Or actually, let's just look at it like it's today. Today is Thursday. So today there's just one of me. Okay.
Mhm.
Tomorrow is Friday. On Friday, there's just one of me, but that one person goes back in time to today.
Yeah.
Now there is two of me on Thursday. Okay. The two of me then pass into Friday where there's two of me. One of me on Friday goes back to Thursday. One stays in Friday.
I think
There's
I
now
understand.
there's now two of me in Thursday, one of me in Friday, right? The day passes. The guy, me that's on Friday goes to Saturday. Now there's two of me on Friday. One of me goes back to Thursday. So now there's two of me Thursday, one of me Friday, one of me Saturday. And every day after that, that one of me goes back to the day before, I'm adding one more version of myself to each day. Because there's always going to be two of me on Thursday and then forward.
I see what you're saying, I think, anyways. And so, I
All I'm-
mean,
Pretty
you're-
much
you're
she's
saying-
pretty much she's just saying that like every time he travels back in time, the world will keep on moving, and then it'll just
Right.
keep
It moves
creating
forward
more.
a day. Correct.
Yeah.
So
But again,
I'm always
in fact,
gonna
I'm not
I'm always
disagreeing
gonna
with you
live
about
a day
traveling
with
back in
two
time.
of me.
mhm.
What's that?
I'm not
What'd you
disagreeing
say,
with you about traveling back in time. I still think that there's multi parallel universes, but I don't think you can travel back in time. So that's like that's why I'm not really coming up with an argument right now, because I don't
Mhm.
think you can travel back in time.
Right. And I think that like no matter how you like let's take a look at, for instance, the different movies, right? The different movies that you
Yeah.
use time travel. For instance, Harry Potter.
Mhm.
Harry Potter uses time travel and this is funny because the video that we watched from Other Opinions, the guy said that this was his favorite, and it's actually one of my least favorite moments of the entire Harry Potter series.
Yeah, I wouldn't
it
know.
just-
I haven't
it-
seen
I-
it.
It doesn't. I know you heretic. It just doesn't make sense to me. So the way that they work it is they go back in time in order to change something,
Yes.
and they actually realize that the whole reason that they're saved in an instance was because they went back in time.
hmm
And so he knows that he has to go he has to go back in time. And my problem with it is that when you do that, so this is an instance where like there's only two of them. So they go back in time and there's another version of themselves that went back
hmm
to help themselves, right? So they
Correct.
know that in the future they have to go back in time to help themselves. They like, this is exactly what I was talking about, where they never would age, because that current version of himself would always have to go back to help him.
hmm
So if there was ever a time when he didn't go back, he wouldn't exist anymore because he wouldn't have helped himself.
Correct.
So every time he gets to that moment in his life, he has to go back in time to help himself. And I think they explain it away by like, after they do that, they move forward into the future.
Yeah, then you
Am I
jump
right,
back
Luke?
until like the day before.
Yeah.
Like you don't stay in that parallel. And that's
Yeah, so they go back and help themselves,
hmm
and then they move back to the future. So there's really only one version of themselves.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing. I mean,
Well,
like what you're
there's still
saying
two
makes a lot of
versions
sense.
himself. It's constantly looping, like at that point.
hmm
Right, which doesn't make sense. That's it.
Well, yes.
If you
of course, it's not going to make sense because, like I said, we're talking about some insanely sophisticated stuff. We don't know if there's like we're learning the rules of physics little by little. So there could be a rule that we learn that there cannot be two versions of you in the same plane. That when you try doing something like that, one of you just fucking melts into the ground or turns into dust like Thanos snapped you. Like we don't know if something like that happens because we haven't progressed to that point where it's like if there is something, because that would cause such a paradox and like everyone there would just you would keep popping up like bunnies that eventually time kind of corrects itself and goes, okay, we see what's going on here. We're going to fix this by doing so and so, whatever it may do. It may merge something together, or I don't know. You die in your sleep or something, or you have to fight your future self.
clone,
Your
fight
clones or
So-
whatever. I mean, we don't know because I mean that like getting to that point is crazy. I mean, I think that we can all agree with some of the stuff like in Looper, it was one that I really enjoyed the movie. I thought it was very fun and a badass movie, but it was like one of those that I think that was the one where you could like, if you cut off your finger, your future self, like right in front of you, would all of a sudden not have a finger.
Not have a finger, yeah, and like the memories that
They could
the other
learn new
personality would-
memories and those kind of things.
Yeah.
Like that to me is, I don't know. It's also kind of interesting because, like I said, like I like thinking of the one where you can't change.
That to me again is like is not possible to me, like that Looper scenario.
Of course not.
Because first of all, in Looper, like they bring people back in time to get shot, right? But then all of a sudden he goes back in time to get shot by himself.
Mm-hmm.
But as soon as he realizes that it's not him, that Bruce Willis should have been melted.
No, that's the thing. I'd have to rewatch the movie again. It's been so long since I've watched it. I don't remember all the plot holes. I'm sure there's a lot. I mean, because that's, like I said, when it comes to time travel stuff,
about the story. As soon as he saw himself, his entire future should have changed completely. Not just like cutting off a finger or something like that. That means that no matter what he did throughout his entire life, he will always end up in that spot.
Exactly, which is something that I think is fun. I mean, I think I don't know. I think this was the side that I was on when we had our free will discussion, was the fact of, things being kind of determined, that you may try to change things, but things tend to play out in a certain order, that even if you're jumping through time, like one of the good examples that I heard was, people talk about the one, if time travel exists, why don't we know where they are now? And someone's like, well, when they first invented the time machine, everybody wanted to try it out. So what they did was they wanted to go see a momentous time in history. And one of the things that they decided to do was everyone wanted to go watch the Titanic. And so they all went to the Titanic, but there were so many people that went that they actually weighed down the ship, and they're the reason that it hit the iceberg and they all fucking died.
See,
I like that kind of idea of time travelers fucking things up, but making them the reason, like, that we see the path and, the way things are, they are.
So I think a lot of people underestimate how dangerous traveling back in time is. Like a lot of people, say, "Oh, the butterfly effect," but like going back in time, and like you could be like, "Oh no, I'm going to be super careful.
No,
I won't change anything." There's no way that you will be able to exactly replicate what you're going to do throughout that day.
The fact that you're even there changes everything.
Yeah.
The fact that you even exist in the same,
and that's why it's called the butterfly effect, because it talks about the fact that
bro, it's not even the butterfly effect. It should be the leaf of the pebble effect, the leaf of grass effect, like anything.
A butterfly flapping its wings is pretty weak. I think it's weaker than a pebble. So I think butterfly effect is a good example of saying, I don't know, bro. That butterfly can fly in front of
a car, and then that car swerves off, and then hits a car that ends up being secretly Vladimir Putin's, limousine that explodes, and then like all of a sudden there's World War VIII.
Why did Rouse just show up? I'm just so confused.
That's why it's called the butterfly effect. Like it makes perfect sense. And so yes, I mean, I think we all agree on that. Where I think if tomorrow they were like, "Hey, we created a time machine," that we'd go, all right, I think we have to abandon our lives. We have to devote everything that we have into destroying this thing, or reality is going to be destroyed as we know it.
And that's why, that's why, the terrible things that happened in the past, you have Hitler, the bubonic plague, a freaking photograph
Facebook,
by Nickelback.
God.
Like all the things like, that terrible in the world, and why they haven't been, corrected is because, even if like, 1,000 years into the future, guys, we've unlocked the secrets of time travel. They ain't going to do it. There's probably some idiot that's going to do it, and then the world, you pans out. You hear some sad music playing, and then the world just literally crumbles into itself and becomes a black hole.
No, that wouldn't happen because it's not possible.
Exactly, but
It's not. It's literally not possible.
that I know, and that's
It's not possible now. I think it's a little arrogant to say it's never going to be possible.
It's not possible now. It's not possible later. It's not possible ever. And I will. It's not feasible. It's not.
It's not by our current understanding.
No, not even under. It's not understanding. It's not physics related. It's not anything other than the fact that our minds, bodies, consciousness, our spirit, our entire persona is not wrapped up in something that can be plugged and unplugged. You can't quantify, like, now we're, this goes back to the artificial intelligence thing, like, Elon Musk trying to put computer chips, and eventually, we're going to be, our consciousness is going to be stored on a hard drive. No, it's not. It's not, because there's more to a person than their DNA, their physical flesh. There's more inside than just what is on paper, on a DNA strand. That's not what we're made up of. We have a body, we have a spirit, we have a soul, we have all of these things that mesh themselves together to make us ourselves. And you can't take a physical, fleshly body and then combine with everything that makes you up, and then think of the magnitude of the world and the other 6-7 billion people on the planet and say, hold on, we're going to freeze frame everything and send this one person back in time to show up back there. And the world is going to be just as it was right then in the Wild Wild West. Wild Bill Hickok and the Revolutionary War, or World War II, like, all wherever you want to send them there. It happened. We lived it, or some of us did. Our ancestors did. Family, whatever. They lived it. They went through it, and it's gone. It's not just sitting frozen as the timeline plays, and we can just go back to it and like hit play, and okay, now it's going to play out again. That's not how reality works.
You hear some evil laughter in the background and be like, "You're a fool, Jack. You misunderstand. We're not going to send one person back. We're going to send everyone back." And then like the world, reverses.
I mean, I completely understand everything that you're saying, but at the same time, I feel like it's so incredibly complicated to me that I couldn't say that it's one way or another. Like, I won't, there's no way to be able to convince me, because even if there was flat out proof that you could show me on a piece of paper, my brain can't comprehend it. I can't.
Which I have.
I mean, I think that I've talked with you guys about the fact that I don't know how a freaking cell phone works. Like, open it up and there's all these different like little parts in here, and somehow like I can look at boobies on it. I don't know where those boobies came from. Like, what the hell? It makes no sense to me how any of this stuff works. So like, trying to explain things that are even more complicated than that, I don't know. I like, there's certain things, and it's what's funny is it's like there are certain times where we can watch a time travel movie and you can go, okay, that kind of makes sense. And then there's other times where you're just like, oh, that just seems like complete and utter bullshit. Where, like something with, like Groundhog Day. Taking that one, for example, where he's having to relive a timeline over again, being able to make different choices and stuff like that.
But yet he remembers the choices that he made the day before.
Exactly. But then his life continues on from there. Who knows what happened to his other alternate selves or anything like that. They're never spoken of or heard from or anything. But for one day, he was able to have gained knowledge of basically, that full day that he was able to, redo his decisions and stuff. That's a kind of interesting thing. The same way with how Doctor Strange uses the time stone to kind of look at what could possibly happen in the future, and therefore feel like make a more educated decision in this current time.
The reason why the time stone works in the Marvel universe is because the time stone literally stores all of time within it, as if it were a VHS tape, and he can literally control the fast forward, the reverse of the timeline.
Yeah.
And he's literally, something happens and he goes, nope, and reverts it back to then. I mean, it still doesn't make sense in the grand scheme of things because it's like, okay, so you also reverted yourself, but at the same time, the second you hit reverse, you would have been going to the part of the timeline where you weren't hitting the reverse button. So, like, you know what I mean? Like, so he's excluded from it because he's in control of it. It's just, it's very.
So it's like the click remote with Adam Sandler.
Yeah, exactly. Which also doesn't make any sense.
Wait,
Yeah.
is Adam Sandler Doctor Strange confirmed?
I think Adam Sandler is a time traveler, to be honest with you.
Do you really? Do you think so?
Yeah.
Because his comedic genius is far years ahead of its time.
No, it's from the past for sure. Like stuck in the 90s, actually.
Wait, I think you're thinking of the guy who owns TGI Fridays.
Guy Fieri?
Yeah.
Wait, does he actually own TGI Fridays?
Yeah, he does. I'm pretty sure he does.
Just made that up. We going to Flavortown, or what's the deal?
I'm almost 110% positive.
Chives? Hello?
Chives? Can we get a
Does he even work here anymore?
I don't know. I don't think we need him anymore.
There he goes.
But I don't know.
Chives, he is here.
So
Weird.
Jack, obviously the the unrealistic notation of time travel seems to upset you a bit. Is there are there different time travel movies that you enjoy more than others because it's like, okay, I know it doesn't exist, but if it were to exist, this way seems more rational than that way. Like the Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure is a very silly, goofy, fun way to think of time travel. Travel back in time, grab Genghis Khan, bring him to the future, take him to a water park, have fun, and make a good grade on your history final, kind of thing.
Yeah, and then you send him back into the past.
Yeah.
In those kinds of situations, though, they're grabbing things from the past to bring them to the future.
No, I'm just saying, could you enjoy that movie, or were you just like, oh, this is so unrealistic, like I can't even stand to watch it?
I mean, it's one of those things where, like, if I'm watching that kind of thing, I'm going to just suspend reality and just enjoy it, right? You know what I mean? Like, because it's funny. But obviously, it doesn't make any sense. You bring Genghis Khan to the future, and now he has influence and knowledge on all kinds of new technology, the simple things that would just like change the course of history. And all of a sudden you're not wearing Nikes, you're wearing like some sweet ass leather moccasins. Like,
pause. He was the spokesman for TGI Fridays.
Okay. Yeah, I thought so.
But he's never eaten at TGI Fridays.
Thanks, Chives. Appreciate you.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean,
I feed him
the time. Do you guys remember the movie The Time Machine with Paul Walker? Or no. That was no. So The Time Machine was with
it was
Paul
Porsche.
Walker was in. Yikes! No, The Time Machine was good. That was with Guy Pearce. There was another one called it was something with time. It was with Paul Walker. They went into past medieval times. They were like archaeologists. Do you remember what I'm talking about? They were archaeologists. They went into the past, and they were like this medieval time, and then they end up finding out that like he lived there, fell in love, and like was one of the knights, and that's where he like spent his days.
Oh my god, I do remember.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yes, but I can't think of the name of it. I'm googling right now. I'm gonna beat him. I'm gonna beat him.
You can't beat Chives. That's not happening.
Yeah, Fast and Furious.
He did manage to go back in time in Fast and Furious. Oddly enough, in Fast and Furious, he went back in time every time he shifted because those 5 and 6 speed cars that he drove, he upshifted 10 to 12 times every race. It's very weird. So I'm not really sure how he did that. Had to have been time travel, yeah.
Or Tammy and the T-Rex, because he was in that back in 1994. That sounds like
that's not. That is not it.
Meet the Deedles.
No, it's called Time. It's called Timeline. It also had Gerard Butler in it as well, young Gerard Butler.
Yeah, I forgot about that movie.
That movie was awesome. Like, it's a good movie. And I'll tell you why I actually didn't mind that time travel, they didn't go back into where they were. So like they didn't make it back. Some of them did, but some of them stayed. So the point is that they weren't suspending time or creating a new version of themselves. They were going to a time where, like, I think it was him, or no, maybe it was Gerard Butler. I don't know. One of their characters ended up staying and falling in love, and becoming like, a prominent figure. So much so that he was buried in a sarcophagus that they dug up in the future.
Yeah,
and it was actually him. Like it was his like casket or whatever.
Yeah.
So they go back in time and they like have to leave their friend, but then they also know that like, damn, this is like he lived this life. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
So it actually didn't it didn't completely,
Well, just because they didn't try to like fuck everything up by, only going back in time one day and then staying in that same time period and stuff like that, that it was kind of a hop in, hop out. And, it's a one-way trip. If we're going back, then, then you're staying or whatever that, cause I mean, like I said, when it comes to the rules of time travel, that's something that, I mean, we don't even know how you would even begin to rip wormholes and jump around to different places. That the rules revolving around it, I mean, you could completely destroy entire galaxies or something. Maybe if you do something wrong and things just start ripping and eating itself, and black holes. That's how black holes get formed. If someone jumps into a timeline and there's too many versions of themselves, and so a black hole because they get sucked into each other.
Dude, man, black holes are scarifying, bro. Like, you don't jump into a black hole. Like, your body is literally stretched molecule by molecule as you're just...
Yeah.
Let me just put it out there. Wormholes don't exist either. Black holes, sorry.
What?
Yeah, that picture that picture of one. Mm-hmm.
What?
Mm-hmm.
Oh my god! Now, Jack, you're going to make me want to go in for like nuclear engineering and create literally a black hole generator. I'm going to be the cause for destruction of the planet.
Tell me this, my friend. If we have cameras so powerful that we can see a black hole light years away, why can't they send a camera into space to photograph the Earth? Why can't they do it?
I mean, I don't want to get rid of a multi-million-dollar camera that can do that.
Oh my god. You can see light years away, and to see a so-called black hole out in space somewhere, but you can't get into space, get in there with a camera. We can send a car up there, though. By the way, we can float a car up around there. It's up in space. The car without a backup camera for whatever reason.
That's right. Today, wasn't there a black hole image that was found?
It was a couple days ago. Was
it a couple days ago?
Yeah.
It was like the first picture, right, of an actual live black hole.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Lot, quote unquote.
Oh no, bro, that shit was live.
All I'm saying is it don't make no sense.
So what are you saying? Just because most of the pictures that we have are composite images of the Earth?
Oh yeah, they're 100% composite. NASA will come out and tell you that.
Yeah,
because they can't photograph the whole thing A at once and B without proper visibility because of clouds and debris and all sorts of crap. Also because they can't see the whole thing. What?
With that, I mean, the only thing that I could think of is just like, so if you're photographing something, and like I said, this is coming from a dude who got all fucking C's in college, okay? So I'm about to blow some minds here with my knowledge, but like to me, so like what they're doing with the stuff with the black hole is, they're measuring, and grabbing light and stuff like that, where if you're talking about sending a camera, you're talking about sending something physically out far. And every time that they talk of anything in space, like getting a certain distance away, everything is done in like light years. So let's say that you are wanting to send a camera out far enough to get, a picture of the Earth, like what you're talking about. I think that there could possibly be a camera that they've sent like that, but it just hasn't reached the distance it needs
that's
to.
bullshit.
I don't know.
That's bullshit. They supposedly sent a guy to the moon, and you can see the footage. But where's the Earth? Why is there no real footage of them on Earth or on the moon looking at Earth with their awesome video cameras?
Oh, I have no idea. Trust me, this is an argument that I did not prepare for tonight because I was told they were talking only about time
All
travel.
I'm saying is, like, they can send a guy. They sent a guy to the edge of space for the Red Bull challenge a couple years ago. He free jumped from the edge of space.
Yeah.
Apparently, it took him hours. It took him a couple hours to get to the edge of space.
Yeah.
You telling me you can't like get a camera all the way up there, like where Elon Musk sent his Tesla?
No, I'm not saying that
mounted GoPros
it's
inside there.
Yeah, I'm saying like that, but maybe even from that distance, like where satellites are supposedly at and stuff like that, then maybe from there you're not able to get that full view. That you have to send it back farther, and maybe we're waiting for it to get to that distance.
So question, Jack. The only thing I have to say about the
we're waiting for
Earth,
something.
So even if a picture was released, it's not like you would believe it.
I mean, if it was real.
How could you prove it was real, though?
I mean, like I said, they literally come out and say that the images of the Earth that they use for like satellite mapping, and when they show when you watch like a nature documentary, like for instance, Our Planet just came out on Netflix. When you watch that, the graphics that they show you are 100% obviously fake. Like you can literally look at it and be like, okay, that's Photoshop, that's airbrush, this is not what, like they show a picture of the entire side of the Earth, right? Africa, Europe, you can see Russia, then you see like South America, like on the other corner of the globe. Not a single cloud over the whole thing. Like, are you kidding me? You can just literally see half of the Earth there's not one space where it's mostly covered in clouds. You can just see the ground. What?
I don't know.
There's literally cloud cover over like 60% of the Earth at all times. I just threw that number out there.
I got a couple pictures from Osiris REX and from Marco B, which are
of the entire Earth at once, or is it just like shots from like our subspace?
The Marco B one is 1,000,000 kilometers from Earth, so you see the moon and you see the Earth. They're very tall, or they're very far away, but looks like a legit image. And then
I'm sure it does, boy. From talk about technology, right? I'm talking about the technology that we've advanced.
I know, dude. I'm getting a new GoPro Hero 7 Black, and it should be here in the mail tomorrow. I'm freaking
send it
psyched.
off into space, bro.
Oh my goodness, that's what I'm gonna do. I bought the bottle rockets. I'm gonna take it to the bottle rockets, and I'm gonna shoot it into space.
Dude, can we though? Like, can't we attach like one of those balloons that pop once it reaches like
the weather balloons?
Yes.
You know how much trouble you can get in for doing shit like that?
Can we really?
So much trouble.
You guys want to do it though?
Yeah, sending this shit into above like normal consumer aviation.
Well, here at the Bonus Level Podcast, we go above and beyond.
I'm just saying, like, if you send something like that's sizable into like 10,000 feet or above, I mean, you're talking about putting an object into space where aircraft fly, commercial aircraft.
Oh no, dude!
Military aircraft.
Looking up like what I need to do for my my drone and stuff. Like I have to get a full on like pilot license and take a test and all this kind of stuff to be able to do that. So I mean that's understandable.
Yeah, I mean because you could take it down to the airport and fly it to the airport, and they would have to shoot it down.
Yeah, which would be pretty crazy. But I don't know.
That'd be pretty awesome. Put the GoPro on that, have it streaming, and just like watch it get shot down.
Freaking jets come flying by. Breaking sound.
No, anyway, so that whole conversation is obviously a different topic. That's a completely other topic for another level.
Oh yeah, I'm nowhere further on to discuss anything along those lines. I don't.
Yeah, further on into the levels, maybe as we get deeper into the levels of the of the podcast. But yeah, I mean, as far as like time travel goes, I think again, like it's just going back to the root of what I was saying. It ultimately it's going to depend. Like your opinion is going to depend on whether or not you believe that we live in a singular linear plane that can't be reversed, paused, or fast forwarded. And if you believe that that's the case, then you could never ever believe that time travel would be possible.
Yeah, I mean that.
But if you don't, then
makes
obviously
sense.
that opens that opens the possibilities of. If you think that all of time is being recorded, like in the time stone, and at any point, once we get the technology, we can just kind of go back to view it again. Maybe what if time travel didn't allow you to interact? Maybe it was like the Christmas Carol, right? And you could go back into the past to view it, but it was almost like like an uneditable copy. Whenever you like open up a document, but you can't edit it because it's protected, and you just go back and like you're kind of like a wispy ghost. You're there, but you can't actually interact. Like nobody can see you or hear you, and you're just able to view.
Oh
what's
god,
going
that
on.
would be so cringy, just watching yourself make mistakes and not being able to stop it. Ah! No.
Right? Yeah.
Oh god,
And you
that'd be
wouldn't want
so
to. And that's the
terrible.
whole point of like Christmas Carol. Like he sees how shitty he was, and then and then they take him to the future, and he sees like this is what's going to happen if you continue your life this way, and then that's what makes him change.
Yeah.
But the point of that is, I mean, if you believe that all history is being recorded, maybe that would be the way that time travel would work. Unless you believed in multiple realities, to which then you could go back, edit things, which would shoot off another course of actions.
Yeah.
So
no, I like that. That opens up a whole nother possibility, and I think that actually helps make Luch and I the winners. Because you're saying that it could be possible to time travel backwards as long as it was a read-only file.
No, I'm not saying that that's possible. I'm saying if you believe that there's multiple realities possible.
No, that's not even a multiple reality type thing. That's
that's just if you believe that history is being if history was being recorded, which I mean, even if you believe the only way that you could even remotely get close to that, I mean, even as like somebody who has like faith and is semi-religious, I mean, if you believe that like God has everything stored on a hard drive, then he could just recall anything at any moment. I don't think it works the same way of like, let's rewind 300 years and boom, press play. I think it's just like, as a deity that's all knowing, then it's like a snap thing. Oh, look, this is what you did.
Well, yeah, and I mean, with time travel, through God, all things are possible. So go ahead and jot that
down. Okay. And checkmate.
I rest my case.
Okay.
Yeah, but I mean,
with God, all things are possible, including proving, in fact, that God is not real, because that's what that would do.
Or is he?
Oh, jeez. It gets, I don't know. Like, to me, time travel stuff, I think, is incredibly fun. I love time travel movies. And particularly, like I said, I like the ones where no matter what they do, the end result's the same. But when you don't really find that out until the end on things, that kind of stuff is super, super fun to me, because you're on this wild adventure. You're watching them do these things, trying to go like, okay, well, this must have been where this happened, or I need to find this person. And in doing so, like, it causes all the puzzle pieces to fall together, and the same event ends up happening in the end. And you're like, oh shit, like, and yes, when you really go to the math on it, you can go, oh, okay, that really can't work, because like you said, I do understand what you're saying now about the multiple person paradox. Based on our ideas of time travel now, it does debunk being able to do it like that. I'm not even going to argue with you there. Like I understand the logic that you have behind it. Like I said, my only argument is the fact that there could be other rules to come later on, and we'll see. I mean, because we're talking about just things going scientifically that way.
Right.
We in Avengers, it's a wizard with a time zone. I don't know any wizards yet. I mean, we may later on in life,
I knew one. He blew himself up.
But I mean, like using the Force, maybe that's something that our ancestors learned how to do long time ago, and then we've forgotten, and we have to relearn how to do these kind of things. And then you're going to find.
Have you ever seen the LGG8 Thank You?
The what?
Because
oh my God!
I'll teach you how to use the Force. No, so I mean, let's. So now that we've all agreed that I have once again proven my point, and and am
absolutely
the victor. Let's move into. So let's entertain the fact that if time travel were in fact possible, and you could go backwards or forwards into any point in time, what would you do?
Go to a time when video games were allowed to access your conscience, so that way you could do whatever you want in a video game.
Wait, what? So explain that again.
You would go to Ready Player One, basically.
Yeah, so far enough. No. Not
further.
Virtual reality. I want conscience. Like you plug in your conscience into the video game, and you're literally able to fly and freaking. I don't want to exercise and play games. I want to sleep and play video games.
You want to be able to live in the Matrix.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So if that was the case,
all I want to say is,
if that was the case, what would you do? What would you do in the game? Like what would
I would be like, I need guns.
Lots of guns.
Lots of guns.
Okay. What about you, Josh?
No, I just want to play an MMO where without the disease and the mayhem and the pillaging. And
I 100% understand what you're talking. That whole stuff seems incredibly freaking cool. Like, yes, it would be awesome to live like a mini life inside a virtual world where you could
play games for hours, but it would only be 3 minutes in the real world.
Yeah. Or even if it wasn't, even if it was like, I'm plugging in now, see you fuckers later in 40 years.
Like
come out at night.
Like a game where you can upload your conscience into the world of D&D. That would be freaking.
What if instead of that, you went to a time whenever it wasn't like virtual reality or like your conscience, but like you could load knowledge into your brain like the Matrix, how where he loads all the karate programs or like how to fly a helicopter,
the Neuralink,
or like how to shoot guns. Just like you just plug in and just download information that you want,
or of 3D printed flesh.
So, Josh, what would you do?
I don't know. There's so many different options. I think I'd want to go back an hour and 13 minutes and 6 seconds to this very point and
prove myself wrong.
No,
and then give myself the knowledge that I just went back in time.
No, I was going to say give myself head, so that way you would have to talk to me while knowing that I was giving myself a blowjob.
Oh my god! Where did we just go?
Yeah, just try to have a conversation with me. Know that I'm blowing myself right now.
This just took an awful turn. Oh my gosh!
I mean, I'm pretty bad, but damn, Josh, that was.
You gotta think outside the box, guys.
You know what I would do?
No.
You know what I know. That's why I'm going to tell you. You don't know what I would do.
You go back an hour and 15 minutes and kill one of me, so I'd never have a chance to do it.
No, I would go into the past to like I don't know, maybe like I'd go like 10 years ago and create a villainous version of myself that was like only out to get me. Like, so I'd have like this arch enemy.
Yeah.
And then I would have to like learn different skills, like survival skills, and then I would just spend my entire life just fighting me, never like trying to kill me, but just like messing with me and like, you know, doing like some non-mortal combat kind of
It's
things.
like Kato from the Pink Panther, where he's like every time he comes home, he like jumps out of a closet and tries to strangle him or something. Yes, I love that idea. It's probably better than my idea.
I would just like I'd go to like, you know, take my dog outside, and then like I would look up and there would just be me like sitting on the roof.
Ninja stars come flying at you.
Yeah,
you just making out with your girlfriend, but then you see your evil clone like making out with your girlfriend, and it's like, you're just
and that would just be like, for the rest of my life, I would just always know that I had this like not evil, but just like villainous version of myself that was just
that no one knows about. It's like the evil monkey in like Family Guy.
Yeah. That if anytime anybody ever saw me, like they would just, if they saw me or saw that person, they would like act like me. So it would be totally me, and I could be in two places at once, but the one would just be like all like super mischievous and always trying to like
just like updating your Twitter and shit too.
Oh, that, and it'd be so much fun. It'd be like having a twin if you could actually talk to yourself, and then you could pull pranks on people, which is what I always wanted a twin for. I wanted to be able just to prank
and
people
then,
hardcore.
Oh my god! And then as soon as you two get to the point where he time traveled, right?
Mm-hmm.
You just snap his neck.
Yeah.
Oh shit! But then it's a plot twist. It was actually the one that traveled back in time that snapped my neck, and it's just like now villainous me just lives on.
That's what I'm saying. That's who snapped your neck. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Like he literally went back in time to make his past self miserable, also that he can gain nothing.
But meanwhile, he goes back in time, makes his past self miserable, which only makes him miserable because it's actually he's the future self, and then he realizes that, and that's why he snaps his neck, because he's pissed at himself. He just tortured himself for 10 years.
Oh man, yeah.
See, this is why it can't work.
So then I think we know who the final boss of the episode then is.
It's me. It's villainous version of me.
Oh.
I could just see myself just like being like super creepy, like never actually trying to like, you know, do physical harm, but just always just setting up booby traps and like, you know,
saying that every single thing that you've said the complete opposite of.
Yeah,
he's like, time travel is true. The world
slashing my own tires and just like, you know, putting
working for Samsung.
Bottle rockets in my trash, just like all kinds of just things that just would annoy me. Every time I would drive anywhere, it would just he would get in a car and then get in front of me and just drive really slow. And no matter where I went, he would just always just keep changing lanes in front of me.
Oh, but
throwing litter out of the windows.
I know you well enough to know that would only last for about a month, and you would kill him.
Yeah, you're right.
I don't think that he would be able to survive without.
No, I
don't know. Maybe if he had the training of going through that for 10 years and then time travel back, he'd be pretty good and strong.
See, that's the thing.
And maybe he would be able to defend himself. But other than that, no, you would probably kill him and be like, this guy looks like me, but he's mean, so I'm going to kill him anyways. Stomp his skull in.
Yeah, I think I could do it. I think I could kill the evil version of me.
Oh, no. I don't think I would. I would have to be really, really evil to want to kill myself.
Blow yourself.
Yeah. We would totally team up and do like amazing things together.
On yourself. Oh God. I can't. Dark mantle.
Yeah.
That's just permanently like burned into my brain now.
I know. I hope you guys have great dreams tonight.
Oh,
just imagining like Josh at his table, like, and he's just like, you know, like he's just like head tilted back, and then like we walk in, and he's like, "Oh, guys," and then you just see Josh's head come over the bottom of the table.
Oh my gosh! Okay, this has gone to a place that I did not expect, and time travel is not possible. So, with that being said, I think Evil Jack was the final boss. Though,
yeah.
So
I don't know. Head giving Josh is pretty scary.
Yeah, that's pretty scary. That's like the henchman. That's like sub boss.
Oh God, Jack! Don't say he's your henchman.
The henchman. Anyways, I hope everybody's enjoyed this episode, level 27 of the podcast. If you have any feedback, please feel free to hit us up on Twitter or Instagram or SoundCloud, MySpace, Tumblr, Viber, Fiverr, Squarespace,
and,
Pinterest, whatever.
Send us
wherever we're at.
your pictures of Earth so we can rate them.
Yeah, send us pictures of send us fake pictures of Earth so I can laugh at you. Also, if you feel like arguing about time travel, I'm always down to be right. So, with that being said, yeah, thanks for listening, and from all of us here at the Bonus Level Podcast, have a great week.
Later, taters.
Bye. 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 Bye.